The rest of the AL East has made some trades. It's time for the Blue Jays to clap back with one of their own. We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you guys for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, after the Baltimore Orioles made that trade for Corbin Burnes and you know, a bunch of other moves in the AL East, I think it's time that the Blue Jays make one as well.
Yeah, the Jays, they haven't unfortunately gotten a star player in this market so far. It's tough when your competitors are getting good players like Corbin Burnes and Juan Soto. But yeah, the Jays, Ross Atkins has a history of pulling trades kind of out of nowhere. And you never really expect them, but I feel like the Jays should be in this trade market.
Yeah, so what we've done today is in this first segment, we've come up with some realistic trades that we think the Blue Jays could make. And, you know, picked some pieces out of here and there to sort of decipher maybe what they can do. And then the second segment, we're actually going to be doing some that we think just sort of are long shot, hopeful, wishful thinking trades, if you will. And then, of course, we got our player profile as well at the end. But Carter, I'm going to start it off with you. Who do you think is a realistic target for this Blue Jays team?
Okay, so my realistic one is I believe the Jays are probably done for trades specifically until the trade deadline. This Jays team is going to be good. It just depends where they're going to be at. If they're first in the division, they might not be inclined to make a move. But knowing the Jays and how tough this division is, it's going to be a battle to get there. So the guy that I have coming to the Blue Jays is Washington National Lane Thomas. And this trade is obviously we're going to have to send quite a bit back there for this guy because he's just getting better and better, and he's a young guy. So it's going to take a little bit to get him. So I have going the other way is Addison Barger, which we are a big fan of on this podcast, the Jays' number 5 ranked prospect. We have Santiago Espinal, kind of just a throw in, to be honest. Bowden Francis, which I had to debate about for a little while because I love Bowden Francis, but to make this deal, he had to be going the other way. And I was thinking about, like, I think we just need to sweeten the pot a little more. So I didn't actually put a name on this one, but just a prospect in the tier or in our top 20 to 30 range. So like just kind of another throw in. Maybe he'll turn out, maybe he won't. But Lane Thomas, man, he is so fun to watch. A guy that just hits pull side homers, kills the ball. We need a guy on the Jays. Like we need 2021 Vladdy back where he's just launching pull side home runs. It's so cool to watch. Dalton Varsho 2 years ago was doing it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that those guys can bounce back. But yeah, Lane Thomas, just looking at his last year's stats, it's /268, 168 hits, 86 RBIs, 28 home runs. A fielder that I believe the Jays need.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You know what? I think it's so tough to make these trade, targets because what we think the Blue Jays should give up or what we think is a good price might not be the actual price of it, right? MLB trades are so all over the map that sometimes you think we might have to give up 2-3 prospects plus a MLB ready talent that, good or not good, wherever they land. But sometimes it comes to fruition that it's maybe not a guy that we think at all, or it's maybe not the pieces we thought, right?
Well, just look at that Dalton Varsho trade.
Yeah.
We had no idea that was coming. I'm sure that kind of blindsided the rest of these fans here as well. But it's always what you don't expect. This one is a little bit, it does make more sense because he is on the last year of his deal.
Yeah.
It's a very friendly contract. He's making under $6 million, which is crazy. So if he doesn't get traded, the market for him next year is probably going to be pretty insane. But this is a guy that can slot in the outfield. He could take over for Kevin Kiermaier. That's the only unfortunate thing is that if they do make this trade, then it's kind of like you're giving the boot to Dalton Varsho or Kevin Kiermaier, and they're not going to be playing everyday minutes. But at that point, you need the offensive upside, and that's why we'd be making this trade. Obviously, the Jays are in win now mode. I think Lane Thomas would put him over the top, give him that little bit of more extra power from that right side.
I like that, and I think we need that. I'll go into mine, which is a guy that's been rumored about for the past, I would say 4 or 5 days realistically. I think he was talked about a little bit before that, but in the past 4 or 5 days, it's been more mentioned, and that's Max Kepler.
Ooh, the Twins might be blowing it up. Who
Yeah,
knows? With
yeah.
that Blanco trade.
Well, and the thing with the Twins is I think they don't want to keep his contract on their books right now. So I would think that you're probably like, I don't know. We both said Santiago Espinal, but that's just because we have so many infielders right now that we'd probably be looking to move one of them.
I feel like that's the easiest for our hearts to get rid of is
Yeah.
Santiago Espinal. So
yeah. Because we know obviously they wouldn't move like IKF after just getting him. I would, maybe they would move David Schneider, but in my heart, I pray that they won't, and that will never have to happen.
Unfortunately, I think that'd be a piece a lot of teams would be asking about.
Yeah.
Those David Schneider, because you look at Ernie Clement, he's getting a little bit up there in age. Spencer Horwitz, I don't think he's proven enough.
Yeah.
David Schneider is a hot commodity, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I put Santiago Espinal in here just for my heart's content. And then I would say you're probably going to have to give up an up-and-coming prospect, probably in the 10, 15, 20 ranking. I would say probably closer to the 10, and then maybe like a 25 ranked prospect as well. I didn't really go like super in depth because I mean, pick one at this point, right? As the Minnesota Twins, you're probably looking at somebody that can give you some pitching. So I would assume it would be a pitching prospect. Who that would be, I didn't really go too full in depth, but that would be sort of where I'm at. Max Kepler last year, 130 games played, 24 home runs, which is huge. I think, getting that home run boost, guy that can swing the bat, 66 RBI, not crazy, but he, hitting 24 home runs, Blue Jays can get guys on base. So, I think that number could go up if he comes here. Batting average of 260, which isn't unbelievable, but I think he serves the purpose that we would be getting him for. And then a slugging percentage of 488 or 484, sorry. So I think just with those numbers, I don't think that the Jays would have to give up a ridiculous amount for this guy. But obviously, yeah, you're still looking at giving up some pieces. But if we're talking about Santiago Espinal and some others, I think that's guys that you can part with.
Yeah, absolutely. Where would you have him hitting in the Blue Jays lineup? Like obviously probably in the middle of the order somewhere. It's gonna be tough to take the spot from 1 or 2, George Springer or Bo Bichette. I don't even think that would be a smart decision either.
And he's probably not realistically playing in the spot of Vlad or now Justin Turner or so I would think I would slot him in around the 6th spot. Most likely just another depth hitting piece, not maybe that could swing, drive a couple of guys in with some of those guys being able to get on base this year, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm going back to Lane Thomas here. I would have Lane Thomas probably slotting in that 5 role, to be honest. Depending on how Justin Turner is playing down the stretch, he might even get bumped up to the 4 role. Who knows? Depends. Again, Lane Thomas is built on every single year he's played in the MLB. So I just see that going up and up. So that'd be a guy, if we can get him at the deadline, that would be a huge signing. Almost like, not obviously it's a huge comparison. That was 2015 David Price signing. But just another guy, like since then, who have we really gotten at the deadline other than, I guess, Jose Barrios, which was a big move?
Yeah. There hasn't been a ton of the Blue Jays are notorious for making early moves or off-season moves. They necessarily aren't that that trade deadline team usually, because a lot of the time, and I think even as us as fans, we think we should have the roster to be good enough, but we never make that move that could maybe put us over the edge. So maybe this is the year that the management team realizes, okay, maybe at a deadline move might be the right play here.
Yeah, and I think the reason that I have the Jays not making a move to start the season is because of the Davis Schneider rumors for platooning in left field. I don't think they'd be putting him up to do that if they weren't prepared to not add anyone else for the rest of the season, especially in the trading. Then you have to go up assets. The Jays prospect pool already isn't great. So if you're going to be giving up assets, you're going to want a big piece for this next coming up years in return.
Yeah, and I think David Schneider is that great utility player, right? Like, I think he's the most utility player that we have because he is so versatile that he has the arm strength where he could. I don't know about his range in the outfield, but I guess we could, we'll do a deep dive into David Schneider probably closer to spring training or in spring training when I can actually see him play maybe some left field, right?
You have Schneider over Kevin Biggio as a utility guy. I'd be
maybe
right now.
Biggio.
I feel like I would be a little bit more comfortable right now, just based off experience, if Kevin had to play left field. But I think they really liked what he did at second base, so there's no need to move the guy.
That's what I was going to say. I think Kevin Biggio is going to be our second baseman for at least the start of the season and whatever, see what he does. But for now, right now, I think you're going to be David Schneider's going to be playing maybe a little bit of left field if he looks good in spring training, some third base. Maybe he'll slot in a couple games at two. And then who knows? I mean, if Vladdy needs a day off, Cavan goes to play one, right? So there, and Justin Turner can take a couple throws out there. So this team is very versatile, which is the good thing, and that's why these trades are so interesting because we both we're looking at outfielders and stuff like that, but realistically, this team can move guys around and so that's why anybody is really on the market. I mean, obviously, I don't think we're going to go for an infielder just because we have so much there already. But yeah, it's fun to talk these trades, and I do want to get into some of our, I would say, wishful thinking trades.
Yeah, speaking of the left-handed bats, and Kevin Biggio is one of our only ones. We got Kevin Kiermaier, honestly, obviously Dalton Varsho as well, but nobody really making a huge difference in that on that left side of the plate. And my next trade will be getting into a guy that will be able to fulfill that role. We'll be getting into that right after this segment. Our sponsor today is eBay Motors. Take care of all your vehicle maintenance needs with our partner, eBay Motors. They have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your vehicle, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers.
So we've looked at realistic trades and what we can see as a really good fit for the Jays. What is realistically right now an option, but I think it's key also to, because the MLB is so crazy and you never really know what's going to happen and what these managers and GMs and blah 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 are thinking. So I think it's interesting to look at trades that you and me and all of us as fans want to see happen. Maybe that isn't the most realistic, but a little bit of wishful thinking, a little bit of hoping and praying. So I don't know if you want to start this one or you want me to go, but
yeah, I'm definitely taking this one.
All right.
I decided to go big or go home, really. And I went with the reigning NL batting leader, Luis Arraez. I was just thinking, but besides who we have to give up, there'd have to be a ton to get started with that. But imagine Arraez at 1, Bobuchet at 2, Vladdy at 3, Justin Turner at 4, and even George Springer maybe at 4, but worst case at 5. That's a really good starting 5.
Yeah.
And that would be a scary looking lineup to go up against. So the guys I have giving up is, unfortunately, I also have David Schneider going the other way in this one. Our number one first round pick of this last year, Arjun Namala. He's a younger guy. I think that fits with the Marlins kind of where they're headed. Because right now, looking at the roster, comparing it to the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Braves, they have no chance to compete with those teams.
No.
Those are literal super teams compared to the Marlins. I also had Brandon Barrera going the other way, and then Alan Rodin as another one. So a huge trade, a lot of high touted prospects in the J system. But I mean, for a guy hitting last year, 354 was his average, 203 hits, 69 RBIs. One thing that surprised me, I didn't realize he had 10 home runs until I looked it up. That was, I know he's not a power hit. Every time that I watched the game, he was just slapping singles where the outfielders were. And it's he was literally just placing it out there like a dart. And yeah, I mean, for a career 326 hitter, a guy that's going to be getting on base constantly and just has such good bat to ball skills, easily the best contact hitter in the league. It would take a lot to get him. Like I said, it's a 2026 free agent. That's why I thought maybe there'd be a shock. He's not really locked up, but it would be crazy if you had a top 5 like that on this Blue Jays lineup.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, what a dream move for the Jays, right? It just gives your whole batting lineup just that round out feeling, right? Oh my goodness, that's what, and it's so funny. Me and Carter, we said before this, we're like, Kate, we're not gonna tell each other who we have because we want to be a little bit shocked, and that's one that I didn't necessarily see you pulling out, but I like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just going to be slot well into that second base role. Sorry, Kevin Biggio.
Yeah,
it's gonna be tough for you.
I think we'd all take that.
maybe you have to move over to third base. And I think one thing that Jays fans might have a problem with this trade is the power. They're just, if you're going to trade for anyone, I feel like in the Jays system, you're going to go for a power bat. I feel like the fans, like, you can't be mad with Luis Arraez at all, but the fact that he's going to get on base and nobody's going to drive him in might be a problem.
Yeah. And that's the might add to the problem we had last year of not being able to drive in the runs, right? But I did want to get to mine because I went a little bit more realistic because I think there's been talks about this guy, maybe not necessarily linked with the Blue Jays, but that he's a trade possibility. That they're listening at least to teams talk about him, and that's Luis Robert Jr. And I don't honestly like 2023 All-Star, which is insane. 145 games played, 38 home runs, 80 RBI, 264 batting average, 542 slugging percentage. Now, what we'd have to give up for this guy, I think, would be I went with Davis Schneider as well. I went Addison.
Both your trades, eh? You just have Davis Schneider go on.
No, I had Santiago Espinal for my first one.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but then I went Addison Barger as well, and then I said another probably pitching prospect as well. I didn't really necessarily.
How high did you have up there? I'm assuming you'd have to give up probably a top 10.
It would probably be a top 10 prospect,
guy. Which not Ricky T.
It probably wouldn't be Ricky Tiedemann, but we could see another.
If you're not giving up Ricky T. Ricky T is a guy that I just couldn't throw my heart into giving up.
No, I think he's honestly like the one guy in the system right now that everybody say, okay, he is like the next, Bo Bichette or Vlad Guerrero.
He's
right?
The closest I think Jays fans can get to a sure thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't ever say it's a sure thing with prospects, but that's probably as close as you can get.
Yeah, and I do like Addison Barger. I think he's going to be a good player as well, but I think he's, again, not as proven as Ricky Tiedemann. And baseball's so tough because even in the MLB, you see guys are streaky. Some guys are, have two really good seasons, but then don't do much else, right? And so looking at even MLB prospects is honestly a little bit ridiculous because it's so hard to judge them. Like I would say, out of all the leagues, it's almost probably one of the most difficult prospects to.
Well, just think about a trade from a couple of years ago, Austin Martin being sent the other way. What is he doing now?
Yeah, and we were all like, "Oh my goodness!" I was like, "Oh, that hurts."
Yeah, I don't think he's even close to being up in the majors. I know he struggled as soon as we traded him away. So that just goes to show you think you have a sure thing, and just prospects don't always pan out.
Yeah. But yeah, I think he would slot in perfectly. Like he's again that power bat, hits home runs. That guy does everything.
I don't know. He might miss Charlie Montoya a little bit too much.
Yeah.
One thing I always remember about him is that halfway through the season, he gets asked who Charlie Montoya is, and he literally has no idea when he's been the bench coach for the entire year. I don't know how he doesn't hear like the bongos. He wasn't like
the bongos should have been ringing in his head.
Yeah, you would think like, oh, who's this guy playing the bongos? I wasn't here last year. What the heck? But yeah,
you know what though? If Charlie Montoya is my manager, I'd probably try to tune that out as well.
Yeah, so, maybe he just like didn't even want to talk to him whatsoever. He's just like, why the hell is this guy even here?
Yeah, yeah.
What are we doing?
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah. But we do. So those are just some trade ideas. We'd love to hear your guys' opinion on like what you think are like realistic possibilities, what we'd have to give up. Just put some in the comments, drop them down, and maybe like we'll do another one closer to spring training where we'll go over all the comments we get and maybe give our thoughts, say if we think it's realistic.
I thought that you might, just for the hell of it, throw in a starting pitcher trade just to get our eyes on the fans again.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was debating on throwing Kikuchi into one, but I didn't want to. Because my heart hurts whenever I talk about getting rid of Kikuchi.
Hey, Usai. They call him Usai for a reason, right? Maybe another building up from his last year. I know he had a career year last year, but it's only to the moon for Usai.
That's right. To Usai to the moon. Anyway, we want to also mention as well, it is Super Bowl week, so make sure you guys do tune into the national Locked On National Sports 24/7 streaming service. There's going to be so much coverage on the NFL. And then every league. NHL gets right back into swing things after All-Star weekend. They're getting to the trade deadline, so all of our channels through that 24/7 streaming service is they cover these teams. They give you in-depth breakdowns. They probably do a better job than we do, honestly. But go check them out if you're fans of any other teams, any of their leagues as well. And make sure you guys just stay tuned for those the player profiles. We actually got a sort of an interesting one to talk about today.
Yes, we do. We only have one from now on. We're getting into the major leagues, and there are more important players. So from now on, we're going to be taking a more in-depth dive on singular players, and we'll let you know who we have coming up.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It is Super Bowl week. We're getting very close to February 11th, the big game. So celebrate with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. I think we have a bunch of buddies coming over, and our friends are all degenerate gamblers. And so there will be bets placed, and it's going to be a disgusting amount of money on the line.
Yeah, there might be over $1,000 combined being thrown on these games. It's not going to be great.
Well, if our buddy from last year comes down, that's probably going to be he's going to break that $1,000 by himself.
I was just going to say, yeah, probably even more. This guy loves throwing just his entire bank account onto NFL games.
FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. I'm going to probably do a big parlay on the game and just ride it out. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And continuing on here, we got our player profile. And the guy that we're going to be focusing on today is Yimi Garcia.
Yeah, a little bit of a down year last year. For myself, for sure, I lost a lot of confidence in him. I just regarding last year, I mean, Yimi's been doing a great job as a reliever for a long time now. So I think it was just a down year, but I had him as one of the least trustworthy arms in this bullpen, unfortunately.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Because when you look at 2022, this guy was like our concrete setup man. Like he was the number 8 guy. Like obviously you had Jordy coming in the 9th inning. But you were confident with him coming in. He looked great. And I'm not sure what the reason was for his regression.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like absurd. Like I'll read you the numbers. It's not great, but it's also like I feel like he is one of those guys that I could definitely see a good bounce back from.
And I think maybe the reason that like I'm being so hard on him is because of how good the Blue Jays bullpen was last year.
Yeah.
Saying that he was one of our worst guys in the bullpen is like it's not necessarily even a bad thing. It doesn't make him a bad pitcher whatsoever. So our bullpen was that good this year.
Yeah, it's actually crazy how much that bullpen improved. And I mean, listen to these numbers. He's a 4.09 ERA, 66 innings pitched, 8 home runs given up, and 79 strikeouts. Like the line's not terrible. He just allowed a couple runs, and I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's the guy. If anybody that I could see, he might be my bounce back candidate, maybe outside of Manoah.
Yeah, like if you can get Yimi to kind of just back to where he was, even 2022, you're gonna take that. Even if you honestly, if you get the same output as you did last year, I'm not even gonna be mad about it either. You just throw him in the 6th inning, kind of let him ride. He's a good pitcher. I think the problem that I had with him last year, just from the eye test, I don't know if the stats really back this one up, because I was looking at his baseball savant, and it did look good actually. Like he was in the above average percentile. I think he just kind of got unlucky a lot of the time throughout the year.
Yeah, and I mean, as a pitcher, that's going to happen, right? Like some years you might even have your stuff, and guys just hit those pitches, right? You could be dotting up, but a guy, like I think who was it last year? I was watching one of the games, and Bryce Harper. Every at bat was really good pitches, and he just took them. I don't even think it was a Jays game, but it was like I was just watching. I think it was like maybe like the Padres, like it's something's dumb, right? Like a team that I just threw on a game, and I'm like, all right. And I was watching Bryce Harper just hammer these like off the plate pitches that he just gets a hold of, and that could happen to a pitcher, right? Where the stats really don't back up the output, which is a little bit different when you look at pitching compared to hitting, because guys make mistakes and or guys take advantage of maybe pitches that they shouldn't. So I'm fully up in on the Yimi Garcia rebound here.
Well, and obviously it's a lot easier to see a pitcher's mistake compared to a hitter's mistake. A hitter's mistake is probably just missing like a middle pitch, as we saw the entire year with this Blue Jays lineup. Yimi Garcia, if he has a mistake pitch, that thing could be sent 450 feet into the stands. So one thing that I noticed about Yimi last year is that he wouldn't have bad pitches, but like you said, they would just get to him and they get runners on. And then once there was runners on, he'd make a mistake pitch and it would get launched.
Yeah.
So there was a problem there. I mean, maybe it was due to a little bit of his pitch mix because he was throwing the curveball 33.4% of the time, and it's actually 0.1% more than his fastball. So he's throwing his curveball his most used pitch last year when he has a good fastball, 96 average miles per hour, decent amount of movement on it. I think you got to throw that pitch more.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't consider Yimi Garcia a curveball pitcher. That's what's weird, right? Is like when I think of Yimi, I think of his fastball and how great command he has of that fastball. And then I didn't even know that stat. That's insane. Because he's not if you asked anybody what pitch is Yimi throwing here, they're probably gonna say fastball. But if you look at the stats, curveballs. It's a crazy thing, right? Because yeah, you watch him pitch that fastball, and he's got such good control. Honestly, he might have one of the better controls on this Blue Jays bullpen. But if you're throwing that curveball a ton, guys get to see it more, and it's easier to line it up, right?
Well, and that's the thing is that if they don't have to sit on the fastball, they can kind of sit on that off speed. He also does throw, he throws a sinker 15% of the time, then a slider 10.5%, then mixed in the changeup 7.3% of the time. But it seemed like he was really relying on his off speed pitches, and without him throwing that fastball as much, maybe maybe it was a confidence thing. I don't know what the issue was for him, but yeah, he's relying on those off speed pitches, and you can just sit off speed. There's a lot of hitters in the MLB that are really good off speed hitters, so it's tough. It's tough when you have a good fastball and you're not using it. I would wonder if maybe Pete was in his ear a little bit about that, or what the change was.
Was it Pete? Was it the catcher? Maybe are they seeing something? You know what I mean? There's so many variables that go into it. Plus, do you think maybe it was a confidence thing? We were talking about how when he got runners on, he sort of cracked, right? So maybe it's a larger confidence issue than it is location or pitch mix situation.
Oh yeah, and he's 33. He's been doing it for a long time. Obviously, he's been putting in the work in the offseason. I think, yeah, like you said, other than Alek Manoah, I don't know if I would almost have Yimi above Alek Manoah. I just think that Manoah can't get any worse. So I mean, I guess he has to be a bounce back candidate. But as for relievers, yeah, if Yimi can get kind of back to where he was, then he can. I don't even know if he would slide into that eighth inning role anymore when you got Eric Swanson and Chad Green there.
Yeah,
maybe it would make for some fun competition though in spring training.
I think this bullpen is so filthy, and I don't even it's sad that we didn't get to see a full year of Chad Green last year, but going into this season, I'm he's one of the guys that I'm going to be really having a close eye on during spring training games just to see what I can really see from him. I did want to mention that when the pitchers and catchers report, we will get to see a little bit of Ricky Tiedemann. So hopefully some videos come out, at least from there, so we can see a little bit from him. I just wanted to mention that before we ended, just so if you scrolling through Twitter or something, if you guys keep an eye out for it, shoot it, tag us in it or something on Twitter. Brayden 5 Wasco, Carter First 2. Carter First 1 is absolutely trolling you in the comments.
Yeah, I saw another one. I think it was on Monday's video, right?
Yeah,
he was in my ear again. But we're gonna have to find out who that is. I've been asking around, and so far nobody. So
hey, maybe you got a random internet troll.
Yeah, he's just hiding in the shadows. Just likes to come out to make fun of me a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good stuff. We like to see it. But yeah, if you see any of the videos from pitchers, when the pitchers and catchers report from spring training, anything like that you guys want us to maybe go over, see what we see, see if we can dive into a little bit more information. We got our guest coming up next week. Next week, I think. Monday. And so maybe we'll have, I don't want to give it away, but I'll say we'll let them go down into sort of the nitty gritty of what to look for in spring training.
Yeah, and that's the best part about spring training. For me personally, I don't think there's a lot of good parts about spring training. It's because obviously you're just watching a bunch of prospects kind of play baseball, but it's a good opportunity to see your top prospects go at it. Ricky T or Elvis Martinez hopefully can make an appearance sometime this year. Talking about Aston Barger, there's a bunch of guys that hopefully can make an impact on this team. And spring training is the best chance for them to be able to showcase their skills on the big scale.
Yeah, for sure. We're pumped for the season. I mean, we're less than or about a week away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Yeah,
just over a week.
Just over, yeah.
So yeah, we're we're getting there. We're getting closer to the regular season.
3 weeks away from baseball coming back. So
it's gonna be fun. We want to thank you guys for watching again. Tune in tomorrow. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff coming to you guys. Just keep an eye out on next Monday for that big interview. So thanks for watching again. Hit that subscribe button. We still know that a lot of you guys aren't subscribed who are watching the video, so it'd be a huge help. And we appreciate, you guys tuning in.